CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.
Hello sports cards collectors and enthusiasts, this is Tom from CollectAWrestlePalooza. Today's video is going to be talking about inflation. You may have heard this term on the news, people are talking about it, we haven't had inflation for a while, and now they're saying it's going to be 8, 9, 10% for a while. What does it mean? How does it affect you? And why could it be good for sports card investors? Now, why should you listen to me talk about finance? Who am I? Well, I turned down a full scholarship to Rensselaer Polytech. I have my MBA in finance, 4.0 GPA. I also worked in commodity futures for a while. So for about 10 years, I bought and sold commodity futures for a major energy company and learned a lot about the fundamentals of finance, the fundamentals of money, commodities, goods, things that have value, and how they relate to each other. So I'm going to talk about inflation in pretty simple terms. It can get very complicated, but essentially inflation is good for folks that have hard assets. And what do I mean by that? In my job or my previous career, I would have called that a fixed asset or a fixed investment. And what I mean by that is something that I paid a price for, and now I own something hard in relation to that fixed price. So if you buy a car, you paid $10,000 for that car. That's how much you paid, that's your investment, and now you own something of substance that is going to gain value and lose value in relation to cars and not in relation to currency. So currency is a softer metric, meaning that a dollar, it doesn't really mean anything. A dollar is always in relation to what it can be traded for in our society, in a capitalistic system. So sports cards, and well, actually, before I get into sports cards, let me talk about inflation. What is inflation? Inflation basically means that the cost of a basket of goods is going up. So you take a basket of goods, something that is something you need for living, food, clothing, maybe shelter. How much does a basket of that good, say a basket of, 6 bananas, a pair of jeans, and rent for the month, what does that cost an average consumer? And inflation says that that basket costs more now than it did prior. So you can think of it in terms of, people think of inflation to mean money is losing value, which it does mean that, but it loses value in relation to that cost of basket of goods. So if I had $10, I could buy a certain basket of goods last month. Now this month, that $10 might only buy me half of that basket of goods, and I need $20 to buy that same basket of goods now. So that $10 relationally loses value. That's inflation. So let's think about that in terms of sports cards. Folks that went out, bought a bunch of sports cards during the boom, and now they're holding on to these sports cards and they're selling them off at low prices. Should you be doing that? Well, maybe. I mean, the market is going to go up and down based on its own fundamentals that are independent of inflation, of course. However, consider inflation before you sell off your assets. And the reason I say that is this. So if there's a basket of goods that's $50, that's, like I said, bananas, a pair of jeans, and some rent for the month. What if that same basket instead contained Hulk Hogan rookie cards? Okay? If we assume that inflation's going to stay at 9 or 10%, you could almost imply that your Hulk Hogan rookie card is going to be worth 9 to 10% more next period, because someone is paying for it with currency, with that soft asset that has a value in relation to the basket of goods. So if someone sees that they can't buy a basket of goods with that same amount of money, they might consider instead buying your Hulk Hogan rookie. Does that make sense? Maybe, Maybe not. I mean, there's a lot more to it. You could say, well, if they're not able to buy as many goods with their money, then the entire economy is going to go down, and the feds are going to increase interest rates to make the cost of money go up in a way to combat inflation. You know, it might work. Maybe currency will get stronger. We don't know the answers to any of that. However, at its core, inflation is not necessarily a bad thing for people that own hard goods, because it means prices are going up. And that applies to food, shelter, and possibly sports cards. Just a thought, something to think about as you consider buying and selling, and you know, honing in your collection and what you're going to hold on to throughout this tumultuous time that we're having in the economy and in society. So I hope that helps you out. I hope you continue to watch my channel. I really thank you for the support, and have a great week.
CollectAWrestlePalooza, CollectAWrestlePalooza.